Okay, finally, we are live. Uh, well, today on Mondays, I would normally do It's Time to Lead Different, It's Time to Learn Different. But today, I wanted to jump on and share some other information with everybody, more impromptu, as a matter of fact. It's just something uh, I've been working on behind the scenes to help CEOs, business owners, leaders out there understand why the cry for the alignment of culture and strategy is the wrong answer. So, a lot of organizations out there are looking for ways to align culture and strategy. They have their operating system in their business and they're sitting there going, okay, we need to create an alignment of culture and strategy. And whilst that sounds like it's the right thing to do, and I know we used to talk a lot about it in the early days ourselves, and it was something that we used to, I guess, promote as well. However, whilst we were promoting it as the concept, we really didn't understand actually what we were doing was integrating the two with leadership, so integrating all three. And whilst we were using the wrong languaging, we were actually doing the right thing. So let's talk about that. So I'm very happy to admit that we were too out there saying, "Oh, you need to align culture and strategy." But here's why it was wrong. Because when you think about trying to align culture and strategy in your business, what you're saying is that culture and strategy are two different things. And I know there is a belief that they are, because culture eats strategy for breakfast. And, you sit there and go, well, what does that mean? Well, culture eats strategy for breakfast means you can have the world's greatest strategy, but if your culture isn't right, you're never going to execute on your strategy. So you got to have the right culture in place. So then it goes, okay, well, I need to drive or build the right culture to drive our strategy. And once again, then it makes it those as two separate things. Now, whilst they are two different components, they are not two separate streams or what I would call competing forces. Because what happens when you have culture and strategy and you're trying to align them? A lot of organizations have their operating system, which is their strategy or strategic execution tool. And they are then going, well, in order for us to execute this strategy, we have to have the right people. So we get our people analyzer out, we analyze to make sure we have the right people on the bus and the right seats and all that sort of stuff. And then when you look at that, you're almost looking at culture uh, as a bolt-on or an app in your operating system. We need to have the culture right, otherwise we'll never achieve our numbers. Because your strategy, your operating system is purely a model designed to hit your numbers. And then it says, well, what are the people we would need to do that? And then we start treating people as a resource, and we create continue to support the industrial age um, problem that is killing businesses today. And then when you're trying to align culture and strategy as two independent forces that you're trying to bring together, what ends up happening is that culture ends up going to, or people end up going to HR, and strategy ends up going to the boardroom. And then you, as the leader or CEO business person, are trying to corral the two and bring them together and point them in the same direction. So we make sure we have this strategy that will, this culture that will support our strategy. So it's this constant battle going on, and where each one is being treated as a ego system where they're competing against each other, rather than culture and strategy and bring in leadership completing each other. Because when you have the culture and the strategy that you're trying to align and then make that go forward, the leadership is component is just trying to bring those two things together. So leadership kind of becomes the glue trying to keep the two things in alignment. So that's kind of the stuff that happens in organizations, and we see it all the time because we used to have an operating system model, and that's the model that may have served us during the industrial age, but it was designed for the industrial age. We are no longer in the industrial age per se. Um, the world has changed, work has changed, people has changed, but leadership hasn't. Our business models haven't. Every business model has a shelf life. Has yours expired and you just don't know it yet? So what's the new model? All right. So what would be a new model that would replace that old model? Because Buckminster Fuller has told us way back in the 50s or 60s that you don't change things by fighting the existing reality. If you want things to change, you create a new model that makes the old model obsolete. So if the operating system methodology is the old model, which served us in the industrial age, and that age is no longer here, what's the new model? So let's jump over to the whiteboard here, and I want to share with you what that looks like. So here we have culture, strategy, and leadership as three independent systems in our organizations. Now, when you look at each of those things as separate entities, um, once again, your job is to corral those, bring them all together, and hopefully get them in alignment so that we can actually get those three ecosystems to want to work with each other and move our organization forward. But that exhausting work is is what's killing you as a business owner leader or draining you and making it really challenging and frustrating and making your business heavier, because I assure you adding more rocks, big rocks, to your strategy only increases the size of your rock pile. It doesn't make your business any better or any more human in that sense. It may make it bigger, but it is because it is bigger and it's heavier. So let's take a look at the combination of these. If you have culture, um, if you focus on your culture and your strategy without leadership, what you do is you create a sense of paralysis for your organization. Okay, you have this really great strategy and you have this really great culture, but no leadership. It's not moving it anywhere. So your business ends up in paralysis. Uh, if you have culture and leadership but no strategy, you end up with stagnation. And then when you have leadership and strategy but no culture, you end up with just a bunch of noise. So then what if, let's just say what if we bring this here, hopefully I can be able to do this here. It's the first time I've tried doing this on the whiteboard, by the way. If we look at then bringing our culture and strategy together, and then at the same time bring our leadership together here, here's what happens. Your culture and your strategy creates the right intent. Okay. Your leadership and your culture create the sense of belonging. And then your leadership and your strategy, that's what creates momentum. Now I'm going to wonder if I can write this way. So you get momentum. Okay. So when you bring all three together, your culture and your strategy bring intent, your leadership and your culture bring the sense of belonging, and your leadership and your strategy create momentum. And then when you have momentum with intent and belonging, that's what sits right in the middle here. This is when your business starts to evolve and stay relevant in the hearts and minds of the people that you choose to serve. So you end up taking, bring that up here, your culture, leadership, and strategy working as one ecosystem, all three components working to complete each other, right? So your culture, your leadership, and strategy is one fully integrated model, one ecosystem, not three independent operating systems that allow you to create momentum with intent and a sense of belonging in your organization, which cuts out the noise, removes the paralysis, and certainly makes sure that you don't end up with stagnation. And this is how you create the architecture then, because you need this becomes the architecture of what we call a world-class business. Now, can you imagine when you have all these three things working together, this architecture of this world-class business or world-class organization, then you want to add AI into the mix. It is so much more powerful when all three, you have the architecture and the foundation in place for you then to scale your organization leveraging AI. The problem is most people don't have the foundation or architecture in place, and they're implementing generative AI, and that failed epically. Now they're bringing agentic AI in, and they've got agents, AI agents now that can do complex processes and complex thinking, and that for the organization. And your organization doesn't have the right architecture in place, which is the thinking and the foundations, the systems and processes for in which to operate. And your culture, leadership, and strategy are working as three independent systems that you're trying to corral and get to work in alignment with each other. And this is why everything feels heavier. It's why your AI is costing you more than it needs to because you don't have the architecture and the foundation in place for your organization. So if you are working on your business and it's feeling heavier, if you feel like culture and strategy are fighting against each other, if you feel like your leadership is just modern management practices, it's because you do not have culture, leadership, and strategy working as one fully integrated model, one ecosystem in your organization. Stop fighting for alignment of these three things and start building a fully integrated model so you can have a world class organization that people line up to work with and that your AI will be able to thrive in, and your agentic AI will be able to, scale at even greater heights because there's only going to be two levers you can pull in your business going forward. And let me assure you that is people and AI. You will deploy AI and you will employ humans, and pulling those two levers are the two things that are going to every other outcome of your business will come from in the next few years. The ones that will win are the ones who can augment and pull those two levers together, right? But if your model isn't right and your business's model has expired and you're trying to put AI into an old way of doing things, most people are putting AI into their present rather than building it for their future. So start building your world-class business, get your architecture and your foundation right. Then you'll be able to bring and attract in the right human beings. Whilst you may need less, you'll still need the best. You'll be able to attract them, retain them, and develop living daylights out of them. And you'll have the right infrastructure in place for your AI to augment all the other stuff and scale your business, and it will not feel heavy. So I just wanted to share with you all that there was just something we've been working on. First time I've ever actually shared this openly with people in terms of what we're seeking to create for the world. Anybody has any questions about this, thoughts or comments, please drop them in the wherever you've been watching this live. Like to hear your thoughts on what you think about trying to align culture and strategy and leadership, or creating a fully integrated model for your organization. If you want to learn more and want to look at what that means for your business, just drop me a link or a message, and we'll connect, and we'll spitball what it might look like for your business, your organization. But that's it. That's all I want to do. This impromptu live stream. Jump on, share that with you. Thanks for those of you who tuned in, watched. Always appreciate your time and attention. And hopefully some of this resonated with you and it's caused you to think a little bit differently about how you look forward to the future with your business.